Abby has some candy. She gave 32 pieces of candy to Sarah. Now she has 53 pieces of candy. How many pieces of candy did Abby start with? We're going to use the linear model to represent this problem, and this green strip will be the amount of candy that Abby has. And we don't know the value of that yet, so I'm going to label that Abby's candy. Then it says she gave 32 pieces of candy to Sarah. This yellow strip is going to represent in length the amount of candy that Abby gave to Sarah, which is 32 pieces. And then it tells us that she had 53 pieces of candy left over, which will be this red strip. So we know that this is a separate problem because Abby had a piece of amount of candy, and then she separated an amount from that and gave some to Sarah to give her an amount left over. So the tool we use to solve this problem is addition, because we need to add the two parts to get the amount that Abby started with. So she gave 32 pieces of candy to Sarah and had 53 left over. So if we add those two together, we get the amount of candy that Abby started with, which is, when we do it, 53 plus 32. We add the ones together, we get 5, and add the tens together, we get 5 plus 3 is 8, which gives us 85 pieces of candy, which would be represented in this green strip up here, which would be the total amount of candy that Abby started with. Okay, our next problem is Abby has 25 students in her class. 16 of her students are female. How many students are male? So this yellow strip is going to represent the whole, which is 25 students in Abby's class. And then we have 16 female students, which will be represented by this pink strip. And then what we're trying to solve for is how many male students Abby has in her classroom, which I'll just label that male since we don't know the exact amount yet. And so we know for this problem we have two parts, which is the female and the male, and when you add this together you get the whole of the total amount of students in Abby's class. So this is a part-whole problem, and the tool we'll use to solve this problem is subtraction. So whenever you have the whole amount of students and we're taking one part of the females, the 16 students, out of that whole, we know we have the other part left, which is the male students. So we have 25 minus 16, and since you can't take 6 ones from 5 ones, we have to regroup in the tens place, which gives us 15 ones, and then if you take 6 ones from 15 ones, you get 9 ones left, and then there's 1 minus 1 is 0. So you know you have 9 male students in her classroom. Okay, so looking back at the first problem, where we found out how much candy Abby had to start with, it's important to remember that just because it was a separate problem doesn't mean it is also going to be a subtraction problem. But since we had a amount of candy, the total, and we took an amount away from that, she gave an amount to Sarah, that left her with another amount. So there was a change that occurred whenever you did that. So you can't always assume that when you have a separate problem that you will also have to do subtraction. And then our second problem, we're trying to find out the amount of male students, and it was a part-whole problem. And you had two parts, which were the female and the male, and whenever you add those together, you get the total, the whole, which we had to solve for one of the parts, which was the male.